reflection of no less than the culture and politics of the entire world of Islam. The new century, it seemed, was America's, and now it was America's task to shape it. Symptomatic of the first decade and a half of America's supremacy were the worldwide presence of U.S. military forces and the increased frequency of their engagement in combat or coercive operations. Deployed on every continent and dominating every ocean, the United States had no political or military peer. Every other power was essentially regional, and one way or another, most countries of the world had to live with U.S. ground or naval forces nearby. In history, 15 years is a mere episode, but we live at a time when history accelerates at a pace unimaginable even a few decades ago. It is therefore not too early to undertake a strategic appraisal of America's international performance since its emergence around 1990 as the world's only superpower. Never before in history has a single power been so paramount. Whether America has been exercising its international leadership responsibly and effectively is therefore a vital question not only for the security and well-being of Americans, but also the world at large. Beyond the obvious requirement of protecting its own national security, America's emergence as the world's most powerful state has saddled Washington's leadership with three central missions. 1. To manage, steer, and shape central power relationships in a world of shifting geopolitical balances and intensifying national aspirations so that a more cooperative global system can emerge. 2. To contain or terminate conflicts, prevent terrorism and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and promote collective peacekeeping in regions torn by civil strife so that global violence recedes rather than spreads. And 3. To address more effectively the increasingly intolerable inequalities in the human condition, in keeping with the novel reality of an emerging global conscience, and to prompt a common response to the new environmental and ecological threats to global well-being. Each of these tasks was, and remains 15 years later, monumental in scope. Together they serve as the litmus test of America's ability to lead. The enormity of this historical test necessarily leads to a more pointed inquiry. How did America's first three global leader presidents, George H.W. Bush, William J. Clinton, and George W. Bush, interpret the essence of the new era? Were they guided by a historically relevant vision, and did they pursue a coherent strategy? Which foreign policy decisions were the most consequential? Did they leave the world in better or worse shape, and was the American position in that world stronger or weaker? And what key lessons for the future should be drawn from America's performance over the past 15 years as the first global superpower? One superpower, 15 years, 3 presidents. That, in a nutshell, is the focus of this book. But the appraisal that follows is not only a critique. In addition to dissecting sins of omission and commission, the book postulates certain basic strategic conclusions and fundamental guidelines regarding the current moment in history that ought to enlighten future American presidents. Even the world's paramount superpower can go badly astray and endanger its own primacy if its strategy is misguided and its understanding of the world is faulty. Moreover, Americans need to ask themselves whether American society is guided by values and its government structured in a manner congenial to effective long-term global leadership. And do they understand the historical moment in which their country finds itself acting as global leader? These vital questions are addressed in the concluding chapter following the critical review of the record. That chapter draws lessons from the recent past, speculates as to what might have been, and postulates the basic principles that should guide America if it is to succeed in fulfilling its historical vocation. This book is thus a subjective statement. It is not a detailed history, though it reviews the historical